with you through a discussion hosted by Mid-Admissions Representative Chris Pellerito. If you're joining us live, we hope you'll ask questions in the chat. If you're watching the recording, add your questions in the comments and we'll follow up with you. To explore the opportunities available at Mid and put your future plans in motion, connect with us at midmich.edu/admissions. Hello, my name is Beth Binder, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Mid-Michigan College. Welcome to our Career Roundtable series. We're excited to have you join us. As you consider different careers, you may be asking yourself questions like, what should I study? What will my career be like? And what challenges will I face? To help you answer questions like these, we've invited local professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with you through a discussion hosted by Mid-Admissions Representative Chris Pellerito. If you're joining us live, we hope you'll ask questions in the chat. If you're watching the recording, add your questions in the comments and we'll follow up with you. To explore the opportunities available at Mid and put your future plans in motion, connect with us at midmich.edu/admissions. Hello, my name is Beth Binder, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Mid-Michigan College. Welcome to our Career Roundtable series. We're excited to have you join us. As you consider different careers, you may be asking yourself questions like, what should I study? What will my career be like? And what challenges will I face? To help you answer questions like these, we've invited local professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with you through a discussion hosted by Mid-Admissions Representative Chris Pellerito. If you're joining us live, we hope you'll ask questions in the chat. If you're watching the recording, add your questions in the comments and we'll follow up with you. To explore the opportunities available at Mid and put your future plans in motion, connect with us at midmich.edu/admissions. Hello, my name is Beth Binder, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Mid-Michigan College. Welcome to our Career Roundtable series. We're excited to have you join us. As you consider different careers, you may be asking yourself questions like, what should I study? What will my career be like? And what challenges will I face? To help you answer questions like these, we've invited local professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with you through a discussion hosted by Mid-Admissions Representative Chris Pellerito. If you're joining us live, we hope you'll ask questions in the chat. If you're watching the recording, add your questions in the comments and we'll follow up with you. To explore the opportunities available at Mid and put your future plans in motion, connect with us at midmich.edu/admissions. Hello, my name is Beth Binder, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Mid-Michigan College. Welcome to our Career Roundtable series. We're excited to have you join us. As you consider different careers, you may be asking yourself questions like, what should I study? What will my career be like? And what challenges will I face? To help you answer questions like these, we've invited local professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with you through a discussion hosted by Mid-Admissions Representative Chris Pellerito. If you're joining us live, we hope you'll ask questions in the chat. If you're watching the recording, add your questions in the comments and we'll follow up with you. To explore the opportunities available at Mid and put your future plans in motion, connect with us at midmich.edu/admissions. Hello, my name is Beth Binder, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Mid-Michigan College. Welcome to our Career Roundtable series. We're excited to have you join us. As you consider different careers, you may be asking yourself questions like, what should I study? What will my career be like? And what challenges will I face? To help you answer questions like these, we've invited local professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with you through a discussion hosted by Mid-Admissions Representative Chris Pellerito. If you're joining us live, we hope you'll ask questions in the chat. If you're watching the recording, add your questions in the comments and we'll follow up with you. To explore the opportunities available at Mid and put your future plans in motion, connect with us at midmich.edu/admissions. Hello, my name is Beth Binder, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Mid-Michigan College. Welcome to our Career Roundtable series. We're excited to have you join us. As you consider different careers, you may be asking yourself questions like, what should I study? What will my career be like? And what challenges will I face? To help you answer questions like these, we've invited local professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with you through a discussion hosted by Mid-Admissions Representative Chris Pellerito. If you're joining us live, we hope you'll ask questions in the chat. If you're watching the recording, add your questions in the comments and we'll follow up with you. To explore the opportunities available at Mid and put your future plans in motion, connect with us at midmich.edu/admissions.
Good morning. Welcome to Mid-Michigan College. I'm Chris Pellerito with Mid, and this is part of our Roundtable series. The first time we've ever done one for Ag Science, and it seems like the right time to do it. So thank you for joining us, wherever remote location you might be tuning in from. If you're not familiar, Mid-Michigan College, as I often jokingly reference, well, of course, it's in Middle Michigan. But we are about an hour north of Lansing in the wonderful college town of Mount Pleasant. And 5 miles away from us is our good friends CMU. And then about a half an hour north of us, outside of the town of Harrison, we have another quaint campus also serving our constituents. But it's not about Mid today. This is not a Mid infomercial. I will remind you that, yes, there's some remarkable ag science education going on with MSU. However, there's some other good spots offering some good ag science education as well. You're in the midst of some. But we're going to move on. Thank you for being here again. And let's do it this way. In preparation for this, found, usually I have a little bit of an understanding in criminal justice or business or education or manufacturing. Ag science, pretty ignorant. And I found it to be a bit of a foreign language. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation because of the folks that we have here who speak this language so fluently. And just looking at their bios, I'm excited for what they have to share with you. Okay? So I'm going to briefly kind of run it down, and then they're going to give you a little bit of their origin story, so to speak. On the far end, in no particular order, but on the far end, Mark Forbush, MSU, Michigan State University Outreach Specialist, Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources Education, AFNRE, Michigan State FFA Advisor. That's just a scratch of the surface of your qualifications and your background. Tell us a little bit more. What do you do? What's a bit of your origin story?
Yeah, well, I grew up on a dairy farm as a kid and was in ag as a kid back in
Why do I get a
late
sense
70s,
we'll hear
early
that
80s.
a few times?
You might for sure. And so then I went and became an ag teacher. So I was a high school ag teacher for 30 years. And when I had a chance to move on to be the state advisor and work at that level, I took advantage of that opportunity. And so now I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. My role is to work with pre-service teachers and help develop ag teachers at Michigan State, and then monitor the ag programs across our state with the state of Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. When you say monitor the programs, just making sure they're doing it right?
Yeah, well, I visit about 20% of the programs in our state every year and go through and make sure everything's going well for them and support them in any way we can. It's not really a punitive monitoring. Sure. It's more of a technical assistance where we can try and share ideas. I'm blessed. I get to see every program in our state, so I can bring ideas to people that they can utilize and take off and work with their students to try to improve the program every place I go.
Excellent. And we were chatting off camera. I heard you mention it, but tell me again, how many programs are there across the state?
In Michigan, we have 137 programs right now, and that number's up about 20 over the last 9 years, and we have 167 teachers in Michigan, and that number's up about 40. And our total FFA membership is a little over 10,000.
Wow, 10,000. Excellent. Okay. I didn't know this. I grew up on the east side of Detroit, so this is all, I didn't even know what FFA was. I found it to be remarkable. Okay, back to our remarkable table guests. Brittany Brown is the senior pullet manager at Herbrooks Poultry Farm. Brittany, I think I told you when we talked on the phone a month ago, I never in my life knew there was a title, senior pullet manager. I want to tell people when I meet them at cocktail parties or whatever, I'm a senior pullet manager. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit more about your background, your origin story.
Yeah, I was blessed to be able to grow up in FFA, had ag around me, and wanted to attend MSU, originally with hopes and dreams of veterinary medicine, like many of us do, but I pivoted and wanted to stay in animal science, interned with Herbrooks while I was still at MSU, and was welcomed back after graduation. So Herbrooks is an egg producer. A pullet is a chick before it goes into lay. So I have the baby birds from a day old until 16 weeks old when they're moved to our lay facilities. So producing healthy, happy hens that are ready to move on to the laying facility.
Healthy, happy hens.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit like early childhood education for chickens.
Yeah, we
I'm
could say
sorry.
that. No, we can say that.
I'm sorry. I have trouble staying between the lines when I color. Didn't mean to diminish.
No, we have to teach them how to eat and drink and how to maneuver through their housing facilities. So in a lot of ways, yeah,
Okay.
it's like kids.
Okay. All right. We're going to loop back around on a couple of these things. But finally, next to me is Paul Gross. I know Paul because he oversees our ag science program here at Mid-Michigan College. And I've seen Paul interact with young ones like you, young folks that are interested in ag science in some way, shape, or form. Paul, tell us a little bit about your background. Expand on that piece that I was just starting.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me here today. I was born and raised on a farm, a dairy farm, a lot like Mark, and blessed to be able to have an excellent ag teacher in high school that, I think all students have that one teacher, that two teachers that really guided. I had one of those. I was in FFA. I was a lot happy to be an officer. Went to MSU to become an ag teacher. Went back to the farm. As the family came along, I went to work for Michigan State University Extension in agronomy. Retired a couple of years ago after 32 years, and I have a passion for teaching and especially carrying on the message of agriculture opportunities for kids. And I'm doing it here at Mid as a adjunct faculty and help coordinating under the agricultural program. So it's been fun, it's been rewarding, and the ag industry is wide open.
Cool. We're going to talk about some of that too. And we're going to loop back around on that one teacher thing, but not for a few minutes. I'm just going to finish one piece with the introductions, and I hinted it was coming, but I would be remiss if I didn't reference, and I'm frequently remiss. You can, of course, this morning, if you feel compelled, now that you're hearing a little bit about who's at the table with us, if you care to send in a question of some sort or a comment or a concern, feel free to do so. Keep it in the ag science lines, no comments on Paul's sweater or anything like that. Okay? But my way brighter than I am colleague, Beth, is over here monitoring those. So if you have a question, it's going to get to us relatively quickly. Okay? Let's loop back and finish just briefly these introductions. And I told you this was coming. If they boiled down your bios, distill it to one word, I have like Paul, if they said, come up with one for Paul, I'd say sage. Because I've seen him, again, work with young ones that gain a ton in a 5-minute conversation with him. If they did that for you, Brittany, what might that one word be?
I guess I would say dedication. I've stayed dedicated to the ag industry, and why that does change throughout the years, depending on what my focus is and what I'm working on. Yeah, I'm dedicated to staying in the ag field, supporting it, and hopefully helping it grow in the future.
most would say dedication's a key word in any occupation, and I get that, but would it be fair to say ag science dedication might be critical?
Yeah. It's something not everyone has the privilege of knowing and understanding. So you can be in the industry and you can participate in the industry and be dedicated to your role, but I think you also have to be dedicated to sharing about ag and opportunities in ag to ensure that we have the future of ag that we need.
Yeah. Is that part of, I hesitate to use the word sustainability, is that part of ag's sustainability? Is that there's always, it seems like there's always a succession piece to it?
You need it.
Yeah.
You know, ag isn't for everyone. I'm not going to sit up here and say it's for everyone, but we need those next in line, and we need also partners. So maybe you are not going to come and work in the poultry barns with me, but if you're an ally to us in the future and we've helped educate you and you have an understanding of what we do and why, then that's a win too.
Yeah, good point. Mark, if they boiled your remarkable bio down to one word, what might it be?
I think probably the word that fits the best in a lot of parts of agriculture is diversification or diversified. There's a lot of different pieces of an ag teacher's job. There's a lot of different pieces of Brittany's job, Paul's job. You know, there's days that you're doing hands-on skills. There's days that you're speaking to people. There's days that you're interacting with a lot of people. So all of those pieces are important parts. Those connections are a big thing. The world of agriculture is big. It's a very large industry in our state, but it's a smaller community than you would imagine. It doesn't take long when you start to talk to people in agriculture, and I know somebody Brittany knows, and I know somebody Paul knows, and it's just how that works. And so it's a tighter-knit community than people would imagine, even though it is the second largest industry in our state. And so the ability to do a lot of different things is really what probably boils down to where I was able to do what I've been able to do in agriculture and what I've tried to have students learn to do when I was teaching in high school.
So contrary to what somebody from the side might, observing from 1,000 miles away, might say, well, ag, like manufacturing, is kind of going away. It's not growing. Contrary to that, it's a pretty safe bet if one's willing to put in the time and effort to head into ag science.
We need more people in every area of agriculture. I mean, we're trying to develop students to take on that world of agriculture. We need people that have high school degrees, 2-year college degrees, 4-year college degrees. We need people that want to take a job that needs to be, I take a shower before I go to work. We need jobs that people I don't want to take a shower till after I get out of work. We need all of those people in all those different levels. And the people that grow up like Paul and I, where we're on a farm, there's not as many of those people. We can't get a larger percentage of a smaller population to meet the needs of the number 2 industry in our state.
Wow.
So we have to find a way to show other people that the career in agriculture might be just what they want to do. They just don't know it's there.
Mark, this is, I think, about our 20th roundtable, and I don't think anyone's ever referenced taking a shower before or after work. But it's reality. It's a good point. Paul, they boil your remarkable bio down to one word. What might it be?
Boy, that's pretty difficult. But I think
You can do it.
I'm going to say learning. I think we all have to continue to learn. In at whatever stage your career is, it's constantly learning, and it maybe kind of piggybacks a little of Mark's, the diversity and those types of things. But the industry, the ag industry, like all the other industries, are constantly changing, and your ability to adapt and learn new things, new skills, I think are just going to be incredibly important moving forward for young people and even people that are a little gray on top.
A little gray on top. This is super because it kind of ties into my next point. By the way, my one word, I want mine to be shepherd, but that's okay. We're going to continue on. I don't work hard enough to be a shepherd either. Brittany, after we talked about a month ago, forwarded to me 3 points that she felt really strongly about, like students need to know, or maybe they know, but they need to be reminded. And I'm compelled often when I teach, like, what did I need to hear when I was 18 years old? Like, Chris, listen, you need to know this. One of the points Brittany emphasized, was something you just touched on. I don't know if you recall, but Brittany felt like continuous learning. Students need to realize that's part of ag science, right? Tell us a little bit more about that. You said you never know it all, and that is a dangerous mindset to have. You need to think outside the box and be observant. What do you mean?
As simple as I have done pullets now for 12 years. Every flock is different, and if you are not ready to evaluate those birds on a case-by-case basis, you're not going to have a successful laying hen produced. And I think it's really easy to get in the mindset of, I've done this, I know it, it's the same thing each time. And then within agriculture, things are constantly changing and improving, whether you look at legislature and that's changing the name of the game, and maybe you've done it this way for 30 years, but you're not allowed to anymore. So you need to be able to constantly learn, grow, hopefully improving practices. But if you can have that constant learning mindset, your career, I feel, will be a lot smoother.
Briefly, you just touched on it. Give us an example of something legislative that has impacted ag that way and the way we would handle ag.
Yeah, poultry for me, it's been almost 2 years now, the cage-free bill. So that made any bird produced in Michigan, if you're having eggs, they had to be cage-free. And traditionally, cage systems were how laying hens were produced and how eggs were changed. And that was completely, farmers had to build new barns, right? And then not only new barns, they had to adapt how they were raising the birds. Because cage, whether you liked it or not, was a controlled environment. Now you're setting a whole flock free with a lot of free choice. And I hate to tell everyone, but chickens do not always make the best life choices. So you then have all these other parameters, and you have to try to figure out how to step in and help these chickens make the best choices, and then still producing a happy, healthy bird, and still getting the end product, the egg that the consumers need. So that's just one example.
Okay. Brittany, I too have not always made the right life choices, so it's all good. Want to add anything to that? I mean, is there a, knowing your title and your responsibilities, likely you're going to have some insight on this, but is there an entity that says, yeah, you need continuous, almost mandated continuous education or something along that line for those in ag science?
Actually, I don't know that you even need a mandated about education in agriculture.
How come?
I mean, I think the one thing that I've appreciated the most working in agriculture for 40 years now is the willingness to try new things and the eagerness to do something better, more efficient, faster, and better for the things they're taking care of. I mean, agriculture is very much a steward of the soil, a steward of the animal and the things they take care of. If the birds don't do well that Brittany's raising, they're not going to produce eggs. That company's in trouble, right? And the birds only do well when they're healthy, happy birds, as she says, right? And so we have to find ways to make sure they're happy, healthy birds, or we don't make any money. We're done. And the willingness to try new things is really abundant in agriculture. And that's part of that learning piece that Brittany talked about. They're not afraid to try something new. They aren't going to blow the whole place up and start over, but they'll try anything once if they thought it might help. And so they'll look with a critical eye. Is this really going to be good for us, good for what we're doing, good for our environment, good for around us? Yeah. But if it is, or it looks like it might be, and this could make this better, then we want to try it. And so they're willing to learn. They really are. Producers across our state are very willing to learn.
So it's an ag myth when one says, oh, most farmers who have done it a long time, they're not flexible. They're not willing to change. They want it to just stay status quo.
I'm going to let Paul talk about that. He worked with a lot of production agricultural people for a long time.
Well, I'm just jumping to this topic because I think innovation. I think of innovation all the time, and I'm just going to kind of work off what Brittany talked about with Herbrooks. And I was fortunate, for a few years to work with Herbrooks with their organic side, they had their organic seminars. And one of the things that, and I'll just bring that home, is how innovative Herbrooks has been. You know, when you talk about the cage-free, they were way ahead of the curve with their cage-free. They figured it out. And the farmers figure it out. As my dad used to say, you know, if you had a problem, figure it out. And it's interesting working with farmers. You know, if you challenge them on a problem that they have, and if they have a fully equipped shop, by spring they're going to have a prototype made, if you dare them, that's going to solve that problem. And I think in agriculture, I mean, innovation is just such a key thing as we move our production systems forward.
Cool. Thank you for jumping in on that. It was a visceral reaction to that, and I didn't mean it. It's just what I've heard. Rick, good morning. Little Ricky Smith has joined us. He's a wonderful 15-year-old from the Beale City area. Glad you could make it. Okay. Brittany's second point, I'm not going in particular order. Brittany's second point, and I love this one. I just think this one resonates with me because I see it a lot with kids that I teach here or work with in the community. Brittany's second point was people. School did not, all caps, prepare me for how much I would be working with people. You know, I meet a lot of students that they imply and I infer they think they're just going to do their own thing and not have to work with anybody. So tell us a little bit, and then certainly jump in as well.
Yeah, I mean, I got an animal science degree, right? The animals being the key point.
They communicate in their own way.
And I am a people person in general.
Sure.
But if you get into leadership roles within agriculture, inevitably you are going to have team members reporting to you. On any given day, I have a team of like 35 people right now.
Wow.
And it's hard. You are never going to make everyone happy. Try as I might, right? You're not, we kind of talked about that earlier, you're not going to get everyone happy. But, you know, you have things like schedules. You have things like, hey, we're changing this because we're trying this, so now we have to do it this way, and kind of selling that to everyone. You know, you have to get everyone on board, everyone supportive, everyone ready to work on the next project. And I don't think that's something that was clear, at least, or I felt it was clear coming up through my education. And I think that even seeing some of the students I have that intern with me or supervisor trainees, them kind of going, wait a second, I was kind of here for the birds. You're telling me I have to have like disciplinary conversations, or I have to have, you know, some of these other hard points. And you're like, wait a second, what am I doing? But we need people to do everything and take care of those animals. So it's inevitable, but it's something to keep in mind as you're potentially moving forward with your careers.
Sure. Gentlemen, you want to add to that?
I guess I would comment. I mean, I think in agriculture there's a place for that person that doesn't really want to have a lot of interactions with people. But, you know, generally I think the skills, the people skills, those communication skills are the ones that are going to allow you to advance in your career up further to you know, whatever your goals are. But people skills are really, really important. But, you know, agriculture has a spot for everybody.
When we talk leadership with kids, one of the things that we work really hard with our young teachers to work with is not every student wants to be the program leader, right? But what we want to make sure we have is we want to have everybody be able to be confident and responsible themselves and learn how to be a good teammate. You don't need to be the team leader to be a good teammate, but you need to be a good teammate. And if we can get you to work together as a team, we have roles for everyone on the team. But if you can be responsible yourself and be a good teammate, you can work pretty much anywhere. And you'll rise to the level, as Paul just said, where your interest is based on some other skills you have, if that's an interest of yours. But I know a lot of really great people in agriculture that don't want to be in charge of a whole bunch of people, and they're really good at their job, and they're really critical for the industry that they're working in. Like, we need those people too. We need people at all those spots. But the basics of leadership is I'm responsible and I'm a good teammate. And if I'm those two things, then I get the chance to be a leader. If I'm not, I'm probably not going to be able to be the leader anyways.
How do those doing the hiring recognize that that 18-year-old or that 20-year-old or that recent college grad, how do they recognize that they'll be a good teammate?
I think that's always challenging when we're hiring anybody because it's hard to read everything in a person when you meet them for a few minutes, right? I would suggest that the 5 minutes that are not in the interview are the most important 5 minutes for anyone that's working for a job. I'm going to come in, I'm going to shake your hand, you're going to ask me a bunch of questions. But you're going to get a whole lot of read out of me in the 5 minutes before we start and the 5 minutes when we're done. And if you're using that 5 minutes to get in fast and get out fast, you're probably not the person I want to hire. If you're using that 5 minutes to get to know me, talk to me, share who you are a little bit, all of a sudden I start to see who you are, and then I read whether you can be a teammate and be part of our team. So as a person, a young person, if you're going to look for a job, if you're looking to see, well, I want to show up just barely on time so I don't have to talk to anybody, then I'm going to shake hands with them, I'm going to talk to them, I'll look right in the eye, and I'll interview pretty good, but the minute they say goodbye, I'm going to try to get out of here as quick as I can. I've missed the opportunity to make an impression that probably would get me the job. So that, what are you doing with your extra 5 minutes? That's probably where you're going to show that you're a teammate.
Not that these answers aren't remarkable, but that's, I hope you heard that last 120 seconds. That was one of those home run responses. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else you want to add to that point? I've got one more coming from Brittany.
I just would echo the teammate thing, and I read a book, Bill Bradley. He was a NBA basketball player, senator. He says in hiring a person, he says, play a pickup game of basketball with them. You find out what kind of a teammate you are. And I think it's important for as students interviewing to show that skill, so that you have that. Find out ways to be, to show your potential employer that you're part and willing to be a good teammate.
Okay. Point 3 for Brittany. And then this is not going to come as a surprise. I grew up downstate. I had, my vision of what farming was and what farmers did was what I saw in a book or in a movie. And then I moved to Gladwin County and saw, my gosh, farmers work really hard. So Brittany's third point, do you remember? Commitment in hours, especially in livestock, but honestly, even crop ends. My husband is a commercial applicator. This is not, all caps, this is not a 9-to-5 job. The animals are there, and it's 24/7 commitment. Makes sense, but I hadn't considered it till you put it in writing. This includes weekend work and being on call. A good company will do their best to balance it, but you will not escape it. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the animals are there 24/7. We do have on calls, everything like that. So if we get a alarm call, which I silenced one while I was up here, my supervisors are all there today, so they should be good. But, if it's 10 o'clock at night and we get a call that one of the barns is outside of its temperature threshold, the on-call person has to go there and address that. We can't put a pin in that and say, hope they're okay till morning. So it's understanding that while we hope that's not a norm and constant, it's there. And you have to be able to address it, and that is part of leadership in livestock agriculture. And if you have a great team, which I do right now, we rotate on calls, we take our turns. So I'm on call about 1 week a month now. And great maintenance team that is more proactive than reactive. Those alarm calls are less and less, but they're there. And even this is not a norm for us, but last Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving, we had chick deliveries. And normally they're hatched the day before, processed, and then come to us the next day. So we get them in a day old. Because it was the holiday on Thursday, we had some brought to us on Wednesday that were hatched Wednesday. So normally they'd get there really early in the morning. So we had one group get there really early in the morning that were hatched the day before. We ended up not unloading the second group until 7 p.m.
But you have to.
But we have to. And I have a great team that stayed in good spirits. We got those chicks, we got them in. But it was a really long day. And like I said, I don't want that to be the norm for everyone, and we want everyone to have a good work-life balance, but there are going to be scenarios like that where you do have to do that. Because it's not a factory line that we can shut it off and be like, we're going to fix it tomorrow. Don't worry about it. We have to take care of that here and now.
And it's not, at the risk of stating whatever, the obvious, because I like low-hanging fruit, it's not something that AI is going to resolve or robots are going to resolve. No.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we are definitely innovative. I can pull up the houses on my phone right now. So if I had a temp alarm, I can see what temp sensor it is and what house and what's going on, and maybe potentially problem solve some things over the phone, force some heaters on, things like that. But we don't have a magic for it. No.
And you, much like you said a minute ago about all three of you are MSU grads, your college days did not really emphasize this to a great extent, the fact that this is way more than a full-time job.
I think that in my animal science courses, it was highlighted. I don't think it gave the scale of like production, full livestock production of having, the difference between maybe having a couple cows in your backyard versus having, thousands. So it's just the scale of that dynamic and really grasping like the on-call, and I think it's easy sometimes for grads to assume it's not going to be you.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Okay.
Sure.
Like that, that's fair. Like, hey, I went to school. I have a degree. I'm not going to be the one doing this. You're leading, you're responsible, and ultimately, like, it's all yours. So you might have a team that supports and helps, but that doesn't negate your responsibility in it.
Is this level of commitment something that you address in ag science classes at, here at Mid? Do you think that's...
I think after listening to Brittany, I'm going to start. I think that's the simple answer. I mean, I think just growing up as a farm kid with the livestock, it was the animals were taken care of first, and I kind of always knew that. But in the classes now, I guess I don't think I have really emphasized that, and I think it's something that really, there's timeliness on everything, especially with livestock.
Makes a lot of sense, and it seems like a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, I get it. They want a life balance, work-life balance. I get it, but I can see why, hearing you guys articulate it, it's a big commitment. Anything you want to add to this?
Just, one thing that's never changed. I mean, I grew up on a dairy farm, as I said, but the cows don't care. And they expect me to be there taking care of them.
Yeah.
They have to have me there to take care of them. And that's true with all of agriculture. Like, if it's going to snow this weekend, which it did last weekend, and you had more corn that needed to be harvested, you needed to get that out of the field before the snow came. And so the timing is so different in the agricultural world because we have to meet nature, we have to meet the animals' needs. All of those things are external, and they don't run with a punched clock. But that's also a plus in some ways, too, because there's some other things that happen. So I worked a lot harder this last 3 or 4 days, so I don't have as much to do today and tomorrow, and so then I can make some adjustments. It isn't all take, it's give and take.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of flex sometimes on the take. Like, sometimes you have to be there when you have to be there, because my dad wasn't wrong. The cows don't care if I'm tired. They don't care that I was busy yesterday, that I don't feel well today. They still need to be cared for today. Like, they're not going to go through today very well at all if I don't take care of them, because they need me to do that.
Yes.
But that's also rewarding, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I would say that I think is wonderful about agriculture is it helps young people to learn how to be responsible and care for something other than themselves.
That's
Like,
powerful.
so many people,
Sure.
the first thing they care for is their spouse or their child,
Yep.
right? And so in agriculture, you get a chance to care for something else, right? And so caring for something else is a great skill. And so having a chance to do that is just really awesome to watch young people do. So that's rewarding as an ag teacher, was to watch young people learn how to take care of something beside themselves. And that's true for a poinsettia in a greenhouse, and that's true for a chicken at a poult barn, and that's true for all of those kinds of things. It's taking care of something else. And that's always a great thing for young people to learn.
Yes.
And I guess I would piggyback. I know that came off as negative, but it's a reality. But I also counter that it's rewarding. And to Mark's point, I'm at a point now where I do have a lot of flexibility. I could, I'm not at work today. I get to come and do this. There are days, everything's done. Birds are looking good. We can dip out a little early, right? But the people in agriculture do care and do find it rewarding. Last Wednesday when we worked those hours, I was like, I need 10 people for sure, okay? Duke it out. I'm like, if I don't get volunteers, I'll pick victims, right? But I'm like, I need 10. Everyone except 2 people stayed.
Wow.
And that they care about those birds. They knew those chicks were coming. They wanted them to get put in. They wanted them to have a good start. They care and they're dedicated. Between the morning and afternoon delivery, it was 240,000. So that was a really busy day. That was a really busy day. But yeah, I just wanted to stress, like, the team is dedicated and they care and they really do care about those birds. Sure. So there is a fulfillment and a reward in that aspect, in getting to see that finished product, getting to see that healthy chick. But the take is there.
Yeah. Okay. Mark, I want you to lead in this response, but I absolutely want the 2 of you to chime in too. And alas, I've got like 15 questions and time for few because this is flying around. When I moved, my family and I moved to Gladwin County from downstate. We were in a town a little bit bigger than Gladwin. It's called Detroit. My neighbors across the road, over here and over here, were both Amish families. I saw firsthand how hard they worked. But if someone said to you, they didn't need to go to MSU, they got it down. Why do I need a lick of education beyond high school? And I know you and I have talked a little bit about this, but what are you thinking there? How would you respond to that person?
I think one of the things that education helps us all do is to become better learners. Paul said you need to be a learner for life.
Yeah.
And so the more education you get, the more of that you get a piece of. The other thing I would say is, as a person that taught high school and a person that went to high school, what I had in common with the people in high school is we all lived beside each other.
Yeah.
Okay? When I got to Michigan State and I studied agriculture, everybody in the room wanted to be in agriculture.
Yes.
It was the first time in my life I had a room full of people that had the same passion I had. And higher education allows you to get connected to people that have the passions that you have, that you'll run across again and again throughout your lifetime if you stay in that industry. And so the time I spent at Michigan State, I met people that now run Michigan Milk Producers Association, that are way high up in Michigan Farm Bureau, that work in the biosystems industry. And then those connections and those educational connections and learning to learn is a big piece of that. And that's what I would say, that advanced education teaches you to be a better learner, and a better learner is going to be a better prepared person for life. Remember, I'm old enough that there were no computers when I started teaching. There were no cell phones when I started teaching. There weren't even copy machines when I started teaching, right? Because we used dittos. And nobody even knows what that is anymore.
No.
And that's okay, because as a life learner, I was able to adjust to all those different things, and those skills came from higher education and learning, and then being able to be exposed to people that had same interests is invaluable in my career.
Anything you want to add to that?
I would counter that I am never going to argue with higher education, but maybe it's not for everyone. And we definitely need all of those. Majority of my team that reports to me that is on the farm are not college graduates. And we need all those roles and all those positions. But there is room to grow. 2 of the 3 supervisors that report to me did not attend college. However, they've been with Herbrooks for 12 and 14 years to get to the supervisor role. So they did the time and they did the work to get where they are now. So there are pathways and there are opportunities, but you're going to have to put the work and time in.
Sure.
But they're definitely out there. It just depends what you're looking for and what your end goals are with it.
Yeah. One of the neat things that Paul and I see here at Mid-Michigan College, there's 28 community colleges in the state. We're one of them. One of the neat things that Paul and I see is we have a lot of students who come in and think college isn't for me, or I don't know if college is for me, and they can do so coming in here almost at no cost. Yes, I said almost at no cost, because the state of Michigan, bipartisan, decided let's remove some barriers. So it's tuition free at your local community college. We'll talk about that later. What else do you want to add to this thought before we move on to something a little different?
Well, I think both make excellent points. I mean, I feel education is important. I mean, I've always have and emphasizes with kids and in the students because it's an investment in yourself, but also recognize that everyone has their own career path. Mm-hmm. But regardless of whether it's through a community college, four-year college, or just, you have to put the work in. Yeah. And even the folks that continue maybe not going to college, they're still learning. They're still developing skills. They're probably going to seminars. Mm-hmm. And I just think that investment in education, whether it be, you know, an 18-month certificate or a short course, a 2-year associate's degree, or wherever, but each one of you have their own career path, and that's an investment in yourself. Yeah. And I think that education, it gives you options, different options. If one path doesn't work, you have some things to fall back on. And to Mark's point, one of the things I emphasize in my classes, and you nailed it, is the network that you build with those other like-minded students, because you know the networking is important. You know, sometimes that degree is more of a Rolodex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your point about networking, you know, we talked about with the interview, right? What do you do in the few minutes before and a few minutes after? It's the same in class. If I go to an animal science class, a room full of people studying animal science, I do a guest interview with students that take the introductory animal science class. Mm-hmm. And I'll ask them, how many students do you talk to in class? And they'll be like, well, you know, it's early in the morning, and I just kind of come in and take notes and leave. I said, do you realize that all the people you're sitting with are going to be your colleagues for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. It's really a good idea to get to know some of those people, you know. Or what are you using the 5 minutes for there? Like, are you talking to the other students around you to find out more about them, to see what's going on? You know, way back when I was in college, I remember sitting by a guy that was from Nebraska, and he talked about on their farm, they got lunch at the other end of the field. That was just mind-blowing that a field was so long that when you started, you got to the other end of the field by lunch. And they filled the tractor and the equipment up, and you turned around and went the opposite direction because there were no fences, because that field is literally that big, that many miles long. And that's reality in another part of our country, but we don't think about that. Sure. Do I have that conversation if I just come in and take notes and leave? No. Mm-mm. Do I share that conversation as an ag teacher, have my students think about this could be different places? Mm-hmm. Well, the truth is it is different places, but you don't get that without that few minutes to get to connect with those people.
Can I add a story? A couple weeks ago, a friend, neighbor in the community went to MSU, 2-year program, working in implement dealer sales. And he says, so many of my customers are people that I had in class from around the west side of the state. So those connections, you just never know.
Mm-hmm. This is valuable stuff. Keep that mic close. Okay. Beth, did you know the 6 F's of ag science? Me neither. I didn't know there are 6 F's to ag science. Do you know what they are? Brittany's like, I didn't get that out of Michigan State. Is this familiar at all? Okay, this is intriguing to me. The 6 F's of ag science. They're going to make sense. I mean, you'll be like, well, of course. But the 6th one I'm intrigued by. Okay, so I want you to jump in particularly on the 6th one. First one, the 6 F's of ag science. First one is food. Well, it makes sense. So much, what is the expression? You know, don't criticize the farmer with your mouth full. It makes perfect sense. So much of what we prosper through is because of what the ag folks have done. Number 2, feed. Number 3, fuel. Okay, why fuel? Again, I didn't go into the great depth of explanation on why each of these was, but it made me, gave me pause to consider it through. Fiber, flour, and the number 6, you know what it is? These are all F's. Fun. Why? Why fun? Do you think it's because it's hard work, regardless of your pathway? And I know I'm throwing you a curveball here, but I just thought that was intriguing to me that these are the 6 F's of ag science, and the 6th F was fun.
You know, I would chime in from an animal husbandry standpoint. It's fun taking care of livestock. There's a certain amount of peace to see a healthy, well-fed, well-producing, whether it be a laying hen or a lamb, a hog, a dairy cow. There's a certain amount of fun, peace in animal husbandry. Maybe it's just in your bones.
It seems to me the FFA kids that I've ever interacted with love what they do. It's hard work. I mean, I have young ladies I coach in the soccer team at Gladwin High School. They're all day in school, after school, hard soccer practice, and they're going home and they've got homework and a lot of work to do at their farm or taking care of a steer or something like that they're going to show in a few months. Anything else you want to add to this? Do you consider what you do fun?
I do agree with you on the husbandry. It is fun getting to see those brand new chicks come in. It's fun seeing their personalities develop as they grow and mature. And so I do think that is. And then to counter that, my husband and I do beef cattle. I think probably the happiest my husband is when we are calving and we're dropping, fresh, healthy calves on the ground, and he sees them get up and drinking and, appearing to be successful. That is the funnest, and that is when he is probably the happiest. So maybe it is some of that built into us, but that's part of like that fun and fulfillment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When I taught for a lot of years, there's a laugh available every single hour you're in the classroom. Guaranteed.
How so?
Because people are fun. Just like they talked about animals being fun, people are fun too. I mean, there's disappointing hours, there's chancellering hours in every job. There's calves that don't make it, right? There's things that don't go well, right? But we can focus on the negative part, or we can look for the fun part. And people that stay in any career have found the parts that are fun and have focused on the positive pieces and not the negative pieces. Mm-hmm. So you have to look for the positive pieces, because all of us are better at looking at the negative pieces. We're really good at finding those. But we need to look for the fun pieces, but they're there if we just look a little. And there's a laugh available every hour of the day when you're teaching. I know that from 30 years of teaching. So that fun piece, I think, is why people come back to a job. So whether it's an ag job or wherever a job is, you've got to find a place to find your positive happiness from whatever you're doing. And it's available in agriculture for sure. I mean, I've been in that a whole lifetime, whether it's watching a new animal or whether it's helping a young person or watching somebody learn something for the first time. There's a million things that are fun if you just get a chance to look for them and not just dwell on the parts that are not as fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This is on a related note, and I hope you can tell, I'm not a dour person in any way whatsoever, but whenever I speak about doing this with my wife, and I say, what, and I tell her about who's going to be at the table, and last night she said, Paul, really? No, she didn't. I'm just kidding. She often says, and I say, what should I ask them? And she consistently says to me, ask them what the worst part about a role in ag science is, and don't sugarcoat it, because it's not all perfect. So what do you want to share briefly, because we're coming up to the final lap here? What's the worst part about an ag science career?
I think Brittany hit it right on the nose. It's the time. I mean, there's times that you get pulled away from things you don't want to get pulled away from, right?
Sure.
I mean, whether it was my kids when they were little and I had to leave, Like, I've got a sow giving birth at school.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving her to stay home with my small children, which I really wanted to stay with, right? So that's not any fun. I mean, that's the hardest part of what I think is an agricultural job, is the part that Brittany talked about. The cows don't care. You need to be there. When those birds are getting unloaded, it's the day before Thanksgiving. You got a lot of things you'd like to do at your house with your family and with the people you love, right?
100 things.
And I'm sorry, but today you need to be right here taking care of those birds. And so I think that's the hardest part, is that can be not forgiving at times about the time you have to give at that moment. Like, this needs to get done now. Like, I can't leave until this is fixed, period. And that's not a question mark. That's not there's 3 other things happening. Or my son's playing softball or baseball right now, and I want to go watch. You're not leaving until this is finished, because this has to be finished before you leave. And I think that's probably the most challenging part of agriculture. It's not forgiving sometimes with the time.
What else?
I would say it can be dirty, dirty work. I mean, it can be outside work. I mean, you talk about your husband's joy of bringing that calf in, but if it's muddy in the spring and that animal didn't get inside and you're laying on the ground trying to help that animal deliver that calf, not a lot of fun about that. There's a lot of satisfaction at the end, but agriculture can have its, it can be long. It can be long hours. It can be hot. It can be dirty, but it's nonetheless can be very rewarding as well.
Anything else?
I mean, I think we hit on it with that, but to counter off your environment, you're seeing me today with some makeup on and my hair done. But when I get to work, right now we're showering in. So my personal clothes go into a locker. I shower. I put on my jumpsuit and my provided PPE, and I kind of call it living the wet rat day because my hair dries sometime throughout the day. But by the time it's dry, I smell like chickens. So it's time for another shower. But it's dusty. In the chick houses, it's 92 degrees and 50 to 60% humidity. In the older houses, it's more like a 70, 72, which feels pretty darn great, especially this time of year. But you're going to sweat. There's manure. There's dust. You're going to have a smell and you're going to be dirty by the end of the day. And that's just part of it.
Yeah. So again, I think we've done about 19 roundtables previously. Nobody's ever referenced showering, and here we've had it twice in this one. I guess that's part of the deal. It makes sense.
The biggest thing in the world of agriculture today is biosecurity.
Biosecurity?
And she's describing what that means. She's taking care of the chickens by taking a shower, right? She's making sure she's not bringing a disease to them so that they don't get sick, right? And it's not a secure facility if everyone doesn't do what Brittany just described. If one of us doesn't do that, the potential for all 240,000 of those chicks to pass away is real. So biosecurity is, I think, the biggest change that's happened in my world of agriculture in the 40 years, other than technology, which is always the biggest. That trumps everything. But without question, the biosecurity is huge. And what she's describing is just one place, one thing they're trying to do to make that happen. It's happening everywhere to make sure we don't bring disease to them.
Wow.
Just to maybe take a little different, not just a little different look, but as far as career in ag, I always think of, we talked about the dirty work and some of that stuff, but, like a Herbert's is a classic example of a company that has a place for everybody. It's in the production. I think about marketing, I think about engineering, the building, the people. I think about grain acquisition. I think about packaging. I mean, if accounting. I mean, anybody that works for Herbert's is in the ag industry. And if maybe you're not the person that wants to, work directly with the livestock, maybe you're a grain marketer, acquisition. I mean, the tremendous amount of grain, manure management, all those things. So when I look at everything that Herbert's has to offer, regardless of what your interest and role are, there's a place in agriculture for you, and their company is a classic example.
You did a great job at naming a lot of things, but it's still not all encompassing. And we do need all of them to be a successful company. You will hear the Herbert's consistently say, we serve the bird. And the bird is why we're all here. It's why we all have a job. But there is a large population of the team members at Herbert's that never see a bird. And they have vital roles, and we need it to be a successful company. But to your point, they might be in an office setting. They might be in the processing plant. They might be the drivers that are on the road, either transporting the birds, the manure, the eggs, the feed. So there's a lot of people we need, and it's a lot more diverse than just production and just the birds itself.
I never really considered it until right now. Manure management is a position. Like, I could see a retirement gig. I'm going to handle manure. Never mind.
Fertilizer department is huge.
I'll bet it is.
Herbrooks makes money on our manure. We process and pelletize our manure, and that is actually a money maker
I believe
for
it.
us.
I believe it. Okay, regretfully we're up against it. So here's what I'd like to do. Keep it brief. These 17 and 18-year-olds that are seeing this or are going to see it soon, you can give them one thing on their utility belt. One thing. And I don't mean like, super strength or great hearing. I mean like character or commitment or discipline or learning to learn and continuing to learn something. What would that one thing be? And share it with them.
I'll go first. We've talked about it a lot, but the one thing I think that really needs to happen is you need to find a place that is your passion, because a job is a lot of hours. So find a place that's your passion, and then it won't be as dreadful to go to work for the rest of your life. So find a place that you're passionate about and work in your passion, and that'll make it better for you.
I don't know if this is going to be as concise as you want, but I feel like I wish I would have had someone tell me at that age that it was okay to pivot and okay to reevaluate. There's a lot of pressure put on young students like yourselves to pick what you want to do for the rest of your life. And I think that's a pretty big ask when you are 16, 17, 18. So ask, what do you think you want to do? And you don't need to just commit to that, be like, I'm doing it, write that on the, on your board, this is what I'm doing. That's cool if you're driven and have a goal, but actually go out and experience it. Talk to people that are doing it. Ask them what they like, ask them what they don't like. Look for opportunities to job shadow and see if that's really what you want to do. Because to Mark's point, it is a lot of hours, and it's easy to idolize a career. But maybe you go through all the steps and you get there and it's not what you thought it was. So job shadow, talk to people, and actually try things out to make sure it's something you do want to commit to moving forward, and it's okay to change your mind.
And maybe to follow up on both of them, I would say build a foundation. Build a foundation that allows you to be flexible. Learn those skills. As job shadow, as a college student, do internships, find out different experiences and find out what might be your passion, but be able to pivot. Build a foundation of skills that allows you to pivot if things don't, work out how you may like it. You may, like you say, I want to be a veterinarian. Well, maybe it doesn't work out, but I've built the foundation that I can pivot.
Excellent points. Okay. Alas, we're up against it. Thank you for joining us. It's powerful to show gratitude. It's powerful to ask questions, too. I'm glad you were kind of emphasizing that. Thank you, Noah. He's the gentleman behind the camera working the magic and making all this happen. Thank you. I referenced my way brighter than I am colleague, Beth, over here. Thank you for playing your part in this. Thank you three for joining us at this table and sharing a little bit. I wish we had like 2 more hours because I have 110 more questions. But the cows don't care. So once more, thank you for joining us. And then finally, the last bit of gratitude you need to show. Someone in your classroom is leading the way, hacking through the jungle of life for you. And at some point before you go today, thank them. Okay, those teachers are critical to you flourishing. So I'll leave it at that, and adios.